Alrighty, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. Today we're going to be going over a couple of the water conserving valve options and some new products from the Acorn team. My name is Zach. I'm directly with ATS, the Market Development Manager, here to help you out with your product selections and manage our team that helps you understand our website, the ATS spec tool, how to build your own masters, how to use those masters in your day-to-day projects, and how to use our formats to deliver your projects. We are partnered with a number of manufacturers, one of our favorites and long-standing, and actually a lot older partner with ATS, Jerry Babin with the Morris Lee team. They've been working with the Acorn family of companies and have a wide variety of products that are all available on the spec system. So we're going to go over a couple of their new products today, as well as some older products that you may not know have had new updates. With all of our sessions and all of our ATS universities, we do have this recorded and a copy of the presentation we sent out after. The recording will also be hosted on our ATS university field, so if you need to come back to this at any point in time, you'll be able to do so. We also typically have like FAQ guides or how to size, how to select certain products type sell sheets that are located on that ATS University that'll help as you're going through your product selection process. We do have everyone muted upon entry. However, I'll be keeping an eye upon the Q&A and chat fields, and we'll be able to bring up those questions to Jerry as we go along. So Jerry, thank you very much for joining us once again. You've done a few of these for us. I'm going to mute up and let you have the floor because I know everyone benefits when you have the floor to give some of your product information.
Gotcha, no problem. Thanks for having us. Again, Jerry Babin with Morris Lee. Again, if you have questions, please bring them up when they come up. Zach will let me know what they are. Best to ask them when they're fresh in your mind as opposed to waiting till the very end. A couple of things that we're going to talk about today. First one, we'll talk about Acorn Engineering products, in particular our Master Control system. What a lot of people associate Master Control with, they automatically assume that it's a penal application or high security. Excuse me. Not necessarily is it just strictly for security applications. Anywhere where you want to control water usage or time frames is where Master Control would be of great benefit in controlling the volume of water being used. A little history about the Master Control to start with. It was first released in '94 and has been part of the product line ever since. It all started off as fixture options that allow valves to operate with precise timing, have applied lockout options, as well as provide remote operation and disabling features. Again, this was primarily designed for the penal institutions where they can control when toilets and labs were being used, or if they were being abused, to disable them so they're not, so inmates aren't flooding out their cells. You'll notice on this particular controller, all of our Master Control controllers have the ability to connect up to 12 different solenoid valves. And when we talk about solenoid valves, if you look at a combi fixture, for example, combination lavatory and toilet, you have hot and cold water. You also have your toilet water. So theoretically, you've got 3 solenoid valves per fixture. Again, on the controller, you've got 12 stations where you can plug these into. So each solenoid has its own connection to the controller. Since then, we've grown into water management systems where now, again, today we offer controls for water savings as well as security. What is Master Control? Well, Master Control is a water management system that allows facilities to monitor and control water usage through the use of electronic valve controllers. Again, we talk about our controller. This is the main one, the main item that is part of the system itself. Again, we talked about on a combi how you've got your solenoid valves on your lavatory for your hot and your cold, or if it's tempered water only or cold water, either option works, as well as connections for your flush valve. Again, what the controller is doing is controlling the valve timing characteristics. When we talk about valve timing, how long do they run for? How long do they stay off for? How many times can you flush a toilet in a certain period of time? Again, with a controller, you've got connections to each solenoid valve to the controller. Again, we're showing 3 going to this. Again, having 12 connections to it, theoretically, you can have up to 4 fixtures tied to a controller. Again, assuming that you've got 3 solenoid valves per fixture. Now, your master controllers can be installed in a standalone configuration with independently factory programmed settings. So most often when we're doing timing on these controllers, it's the timing is done in the beginning, it's set once and then forgotten about. It's never changed or adapted after the fact. When you get into larger facilities, they want to be able to control at will when certain fixtures are turned off, turned on. Again, in a security application, if they wanted to, if they were going to be checking cells for contraband, they can shut the cells down without the residents knowing about it, therefore eliminating the option for them to flush contraband down. There's a couple of different ways of working with the controllers. They can either be pre-programmed in the factory to whatever settings the facility requires. We can do it with a palm top controller, and what that does is, with the controller, if you wanted to make a change, you can then take that palm top to the controller, plug it in, and then adjust settings as you see fit. Or the ultimate way of doing it is using our computer system that we offer, our CDT, as it's called. And through that computer, you can monitor all of the solenoid valves that are on the system. Maximum on a system that we can do, we can run about 4,000 feet of cabling from the computer to the furthest controller. That's right. And you can have as many as 3,072 solenoid valves on a system. That's sort of the max that you can go. So again, if you're looking at a big prison facility where they have hundreds of cells, again, we can accommodate that. Or again, if you're doing a small police station where maybe they have half a dozen cells, it's an RCMP location up in Northwest Territories where they have 4 or 5, we can do something like this in that small of a facility. We're starting to see now in some applications where they want to be able to have a net zero energy consumption within a cell. So they're wanting to shut everything completely off, not just the water, but shut electrical off, shut the HVAC off. So there's no energy consumption within a cell. We're not quite there yet with our system being tied into that. Again, we can isolate all the water going to it, but there's no connection between our system and being able to shut down your electrical and HVAC as well. So that's something that perhaps down the road we'll be able to configure that around. Again, where is master control used? Again, we talked initially about in high security applications, again, whether that's a full-blown prison, police stations, courthouses, ideally where they're used. We're finding applications in healthcare, mental health facilities. Again, where you have patient rooms where you want to limit how often the water is being used. Again, educational facilities. And again, keep in mind, it's not just for toilet use. It can be used on lavatories, can be used on showers, could be used on drinking fountains as well. So again, there's wide-ranging applications where it can be used, where you want to be able to control water. Again, for showers, if you're using a metering shower, typically metering showers are only able to run anywhere from 5 seconds to a minute. With master control, if you want to have those showers being able to run for 10 minutes at a time or 8 minutes, you're able to configure those showers to do that. So again, gives you a lot of options on how to set this up. Again, we're being used, again, Metropolitan Detention Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We have Waterloo Regional Police Station locally that's just getting it put in. The final install is being done, I think within the next 2 weeks, the computer system is being set up. But we have a police station in Belleville that's got 29 cells, I believe, that has a master control system. There's also one in Niagara Falls that has it as well. Again, and then we've got a couple of other prisons in the U.S. that it's being installed in. The Simi Valley State Prison in their mental health part of the building has master control installed there. again, the different correctional centers, Central Nova Scotia Correctional Center in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia has it. There's a couple of new facilities that are under design now that are contemplating going with Master Troll. Why is it used? Again, want to be able to control water, water saving, security. Again, we're all about water conservation now, and this is sort of the ultimate way to be able to conserve. If you want a lavatory running, if you want it to run for 3 seconds at a time, again, our lavatories are doing 0.5 GPM per minute. Again, if you want to reduce that based on time, we can time it right down to the second if that's what you want it to run for. Again, we can also have it set to where, again, timeout where they can use it 3 times within an hour, and then it's locked out until that hour is done. Again, being able to conserve whether it's on the toilet or the lavatory.
It almost reminds me of the similar change from in trap seal primers, from like the flow actuated or the pressure drop actuated trap seal primer to the electronic trap seal primers. And when you're just saving a little bit of water at one fixture, once it's not a vast savings, but when that is extrapolated across all the fixtures across the year, you end up with a significant amount of water savings by just having more accurate usage, right?
Correct. And that's a great analogy, Zach. Being able to put electronic primers in, again, they're only priming once every 24 hours versus priming every time it's sensing a drop in pressure or when a fixture is turned on, depending on the type of primer that's being used. For control, Master Troll provides control to the facility. Again, we talk about controlling timing, applying lockouts, enabling or disabling valves remotely. All this can be done through the computer system. Again, if it's programmed in the facility, again, those timings are set at the factory, and the facility wouldn't have to adjust it at all. Again, some of the things that's preventing is anti-flood on a toilet. So if somebody's plugging up a toilet, again, you want to be able to control that being done. So everything could be accessed from within the pipe space and behind. Again, whether it's a walk-in pipe space or the controller being up in a ceiling space, again, as long as it's accessible, we can get at it to adjust timing if a computer is not being used. Again, with the Master Troll, whenever an order comes through, there is a timing chart that we provide that needs to be filled out from by the facility, insofar as how often it runs, how long it runs for, any potential lockout timing. There is a document that we put together that explains what all the timing characteristics mean, how to set it. Everything is done by the second or minute. You can have, if you wanted it to run for an hour, you can have it run for an hour. Again, although I've never seen one set for that, it's possible to do that. Again, in locking out, it basically eliminating the user from using the fixture itself when everything is locked out on it. So again, if somebody's trying to get water everywhere and flood a cell, we can shut it down individually or from solenoid to solenoid valve. Again, communicating with our controller is done using our software. Again, we have a standalone computer that monitors all of the solenoid valves connected to it. If they want to tie this to the BAS of the facility, there is a separate card that we can provide as an option that'll tie it in. It'll just tell you basically when it's gone into alarm mode. There's no way to go from BAS into our computer system. You'd still have to get to our computer system to be able to see all of the cells, all of solenoid valves, what all the timing is. If something needs to be adjusted, you're able to adjust it. If you need to troubleshoot, you can troubleshoot from that point as well. It's all password protected, so you can have individual passwords for anybody involved that has access to the computer system itself. Typically what happens when an installation is being done, again, as I mentioned with the Waterloo Regional Police, as part of the package, we have a commissioning that gets done on it where we actually have somebody from California come in. They set up the computer system. They make sure that everything is running correctly from the computer back to all of the controllers. They make sure the timings are all done. If it's not done in-house prior to being shipped out, all that will be done on site by a technician. Training will be done with the facility people. So again, whoever's involved with having access to the computer system, all their passwords can be set up. Training would be done in person as opposed to being done via video link. And again, they bring spare parts and stuff like that with them to make sure that when that system gets turned over, it's turned over in complete working fashion. Again, with Master Control, it adds security benefits to the system from a remote location. Again, remote disabling of the fixtures can prevent inmates from flushing contraband during a shakedown event. Reduces dangerous interaction. Remote activation of the valves can reduce close interaction between potential dangerous individuals and staff. So again, everything, all this can be done within a pipe chase. You're not having to go within the fixture or within the cell itself to get into any of these things. Again, flood prevention is probably one of the biggest things that we see with it. Inmates can be deterred from flooding their cells by applying lockouts and additional control features. So again, with the lockouts, you can have it set to where the inmate is able to flush the toilet, say 3 times in an hour. If they do that flush in rapid succession within the first 5 minutes of an hour, they won't be able to flush till the hour is passed. And if they happen to leave something that's causing a terrible smell, well, they're going to have to live with that until they're able to flush again. Zach, you were talking a little bit earlier about water savings with trap seal primers. We did a water savings calculation with a facility in 2011. We were asked to demonstrate water savings by using Master Control at the Southwest Detention Center in Murrieta, California. We installed 2 water meters that will record water usage in 2 sections of the facility. 1 water meter recorded the usage in 4 cells that had Master Control, and 1 had it without. So again, here you're seeing images where you've got a Master Control controller that's tied to 4 fixtures. 3 months later, between the 2, the one that had no controls, they went through 22,700 gallons of water. With the 4 fixtures that were tied to a Master Control controller, they ended up going through 8,380 gallons of water. So significant water savings just in 3 months. If you did that over a year, you're talking about a 63% savings. And that was just 4 cells. Imagine doing that over, in this particular facility, at 522 cells that was there. And when they went through the math, they calculated a savings of just under 7.5 million gallons of water. So again, in California at that time, the facility was paying $3.27 per 100 cubic feet of water. That gave them a savings over the year, a little over $32,000 in total. So again, putting in Master Control saved the facility a ton of water and a fair decent amount of money as well. So.
And that's not even necessarily just the reducing flow rate. You know, there's no flow rate reduction there.
No, that's just being able to shutting things down when it needs to be shut down. Whenever anything has gone into whether it's gone into lockdown. Again, using it, somebody's used flushing the toilet 3 times rapidly and then not being able to use it an hour. So again, you're restricting how often toilets and lavs can be used, how much water is being used at any given time during the day.
No, these make a lot of sense. You know, obviously it was primarily the primary use case is detention centers and security areas, things like that. But there's a wide range, like you said, where these can fit. You know, we had a conversation where they were doing a remote cell in a security area within an airport. And, you know, if it's in there, like you mentioned, the community center or rec center and the showers that could be used. You know, everything from like your mental health and institutional work to more regular, more standard applications that we're seeing used a lot more regularly.
Yeah, we actually did one prior to the pandemic. It was actually a campground. It was a government-run campground where they were limited on how big of a septic tank they were able to put in. And what they ended up doing was they ended up using Master Control on the showers so they can control how often the showers were being used. And it wasn't so much for water consumption, it's they could only get rid of so much water at a time, so they didn't want to flood out their septic system. So they had the showers run for, hey, you can take a 10-minute shower if you want, but you only had you had to wait. If you took a shower, the next time that shower could be used might have been, I think it was set for 30 minutes. So it was locked out for 30 minutes before it could be used again. So it again allowed the septic system to work the way it was supposed to, as opposed to getting a whole bunch of people coming in using the showers and then flooding out the septic system. So again, those kind of applications where you're controlling the flow of water going through, saving water, but then also saving your septic system from flooding out. So again, wherever you want to control water, you can set up Master Control to cover that. Don't know if there was any questions floating through there.
I haven't seen any questions come up, but maybe as you're pulling up the dialysis presentation, there might be some questions coming in.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're seeing the dialysis box there, Zach?
No, right now you are still sharing the Master Control PowerPoint.
Okay.
So you might have to stop sharing then.
Yeah, let me stop and let me start this back up again.
You are sharing the presenter view, so you might have to switch over to the general view.
How's that?
You're still sharing the presenter view. Same thing. I think if you hit the 3 dots there in the middle, you can switch the views. While you're getting that pulled up, we did have a question come in about which type of fixtures you can use on. Is it just the combination units?
No, you can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, you can use combination fixtures if you have toilets only, lavatories only, showers, drinking fountains. We've got one application where they wanted to use Master Control with vitreous china fixtures, which is doable. You would need to use Acorn's faucet accessories in order to do that.
Yeah, if you use like the Acorn faucet with the Master Control system, you could put the piezo push button faucet just about anywhere, right?
Correct.
But yeah, you are still showing the presenter view. You might have to switch to the non-presenter view maybe. There we go. Looking good.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, again, if at any time you have questions, either send Zach an email or you can send an email directly to me. My email address is babin@morrisleecan.com, and be happy to assist in any questions that you might have, or if you need to see samples of a controller, that kind of thing, be more than happy to help. Next part of our presentation is talking about dialysis boxes. Couple of different things with dialysis boxes. A couple of images that you're seeing here is on the middle and left, sort of standard dialysis boxes, and then on the right is our new WD Mainer dialysis box. That's sort of an all-in-one box to handle your dialysis. Should also mention we do have, I believe we're going to have a sample of this in the Whitehall trailer that is coming up the week of June 10th, I believe it is. Yeah, so the week of the the week of the 12th rather. So the 12th, 13th, and 14th. So there'll be a lot of Whitehall product. This box should be in there as well as Acorn packs. So so dialysis boxes. So what is a dialysis box? Well, a dialysis box is a wall box. It's frameless, recessed into a wall at each hemodialysis station that contains connections for the dialysis machine to receive acid and base concentrates and treated water, and dispose of waste products as well. Again, this is sort of the definition from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Dialysis boxes include connections for both water coming in and a drain connection for your discharge. Different types of boxes, whether they have doors on them, no doors, just a flange, one valve, two valve, again, brackets for directing the hose from the dialysis machine, directing the discharge into the drain connection in the bottom of the box. Again, what you typically see as a standard is plastic valve assemblies on the inside. The boxes are typically stainless steel. Can also be done in 316 stainless steel as well. The piping and the fittings can also include 316 stainless steel as well. We also do custom dialysis boxes. So if you have a certain application that needs to be done, this is a sample of a box that we did that had all stainless steel. So there's no door, just a frame, stainless steel nipples, valve assemblies, all pre-packaged, pre-assembled, and really it's just water in, water out once they get it on site. Again, we can make the box to whatever size is required. This particular one was 8 5/8 square. It's got a wall depth of 3 3/4 inch as well. So again, we can make these to whatever size is required. And again, those are just our standard boxes that we do. Our all-in-one modular system now, as I mentioned before, our WD Mainer box is everything all in one. Again, it's a new offering. It's stocked in the US. Actually, part of this is more of a bit of a sales rep's presentation as well. So again, what is this dialysis box and why is it the best on the market? Everything is located within the box itself. So it's safe water delivery, no cross-contamination, job savings insofar as all your piping, you can customize it. Everything is in one box. So again, when we talk about what's in the box, again, safer experience for the patient and the provider, prevents cross-contamination and minimizes liability. You'll notice in the box, the particular one that we're showing here, has a backflow preventer, also has a trap seal primer. We can include thermostatic mixing valves, has ball valves to isolate. There's also a drain connection on this one, a bit of a drip tray that folds outwards. So again, your hosing can, if it comes loose within the box, any water that goes on that drip tray is directed back into the drain. Again, this new dialysis box, again, as I mentioned, has an integrated reduced pressure backflow preventer, isolates the system on a patient-by-patient basis as opposed to having one central backflow preventer. And again, safely uses potable water at the source. And again, water temperature control for safety. Again, by incorporating a mixing valve into the assembly, we can do that. Again, it arrives pre-plumbed with speedy connections, eliminates need for designing or designating a room within the facility to house your backflow preventer. Again, allows you to put your smallest backflow preventer in. Eliminates excess piping in a crowded ceiling space. Again, probably the biggest issue is connection errors, is reducing those. Here it gives you an image typically of what your typical dialysis boxes are. You've got your main room that's sort of on the right side here, where your backflow preventer is, and then you're running piping back and forth to each dialysis box, your conventional dialysis box. You've got your cold water piping going back and forth from the box back to where your backflow preventer is. So you can see there's a fair bit of copper piping that's being used to go back and forth, as opposed to just having our WD mainer box put in. And then basically you just have a cold water loop that's running around on a recirc system. Again, the top view, the traditional system, but 840 hours of labor to run all that in on this particular setup. And this was actually a job that was done by WD Mainer, which is actually the name of a contractor that designed this box, and it's under license to Whitehall for manufacturing in North America. By putting in there the box that they came up with, they had an estimated savings of 303 hours of labor, and then the estimated cost savings was 89 grand versus $128,000 to run it. So again, it reduces amount of labor. You cut your labor almost by a third. So again, instead of putting in a conventional box, having one of these put in, again, saves a whole lot of time in going through it. Each one is individual on its own. So each user is protected by an individual backflow preventer. Also eliminates dead legs of water. We've had calls where they want to be able to flush the system every 12 hours or 24 hours if there's non-use. We're able to incorporate a Belimo valve that would actually allow it to open up and flush the lines, branching down from your main water line going down to your dialysis box. So again, being able to incorporate that in, that we're able to do. We can configure the box into a different size if required to fit the existing wall spaces as well. So again, we can completely customize this box as required. We've got two different versions. The 8193 has a backflow and a trap seal primer in it. You've got an isolation valve, your trap primer, your backflow preventer, fold down drip tray, your dialysis supply, and then a 2-inch waste connection. We also have the valves on the backflow for doing your testing when that needs to be done. On the copper, there is a clear lacquer coat that's on it. If it has the door on it, the door opens a full 180 degree. The hinge is also concealed. You've got your mounting tabs on the box to tie it into the drywall. As a discharge hose bracket, so again, keeping that hose bracket from flopping around, or that hose from flopping around within the box. It actually directs everything down into the waste connection. Our 8194, again, dialysis box, has a backflow preventer, trap primer, and a thermostatic mixing valve. Again, adding the mixing valve, you've got a thermometer there to give you temperature. Again, your isolation valves, and again, all the other features that the 8193 has. This box is a little bit bigger to accommodate the extra piping required by the thermostatic mixing valve. And again, as you see it in the image, that's how you would get it out of the box when it's shipped out. So everything's already there. It's just a matter of water in, drain connection out, and you're good to go. Again, we talk about customization. If the entry, instead of can come from the bottom as opposed to the top, quick disconnects for your supply fittings. Again, customized sizing fit whatever application that you have. Again, if it's existing or not. This particular one is showing a white box. If they want it all in stainless steel, we can do that all in stainless steel as well. And again, in those cases, they would be made to order. Again, types of applications. Again, typically it's used for dialysis boxes and ICU rooms, isolation rooms, emergency departments, your trauma, dialysis, infusion bays, other healthcare non-dialysis use. Again, sterilizer hookups, Stryker, Neptune docking stations, in lab spaces rather, usually where a piece of equipment requires a backflow and soft water. In berthing units where they need mixed water or a mixing valve. Non-healthcare uses, ice maker hookups, again, installations in some bars at State Farm Stadium, they've got this used set up for their ice machines and soda fountains.
Huh. I never would have thought about it for that, but I guess, yeah, because those often need their own premise isolation backflow device as well as part of the total backflow prevention plan. That's
Correct.
interesting. We did have a question. I think it ties into, one of the aspects of Acorn that, really stands out to me, all the different customizations that are available, like you mentioned on the last slide. Acorn, they've done so many different custom units for us over the last couple decades. And one that may come up with this one is a question coming in from the chat on whether or not you could hang the unit in the ceiling. Would they be able to do a ceiling mounted unit and the customization for that? I'm not sure, especially for the backflow device. I think that might cause concern, right?
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure how the drain is going to work on that as well. I would have to check with the factory and actually probably get back to WD Maynard to find out if they've run into that kind of installation. They started using these several years before Whitehall actually got involved and got the marketing agreement with them. So they might have run into that kind of application, and maybe there's something different that they've done that I would have to find out.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's likely, a lot of the dialysis boxes, they are connect and disconnected frequently. Something that's hung in the ceiling would not be as accessible either. So it would probably be for, a situation where it's hooked up and left hooked up. But yeah, there would be concerns. The drainage and the backflow preventer itself, a reduced pressure backflow preventer needs to be, mounted in its typical orientation so that there is the opportunity for the discharge, which is a big part of that backflow preventer's, full protection that it offers. So there might be some concerns there in putting it in the ceiling space.
Yeah, it'd have to be accessible as well. Ideally, when these are used, especially the WD Manor box, in the slide that I showed earlier, where it showed the sort of a room layout with all the multiple rooms that are there. Typically, you've got a machine that's connected to it almost full time, where maybe they've taken the door off or they've ordered it without a door. So it's always accessible. It's always connected unless they need to move the machine to another location. Then they would disconnect. But ideally, your machines would be connected to it on a full-time basis, or disconnected, like I say, if it had to be serviced or something like that. So if it's in a room that's used for other applications other than for dialysis, then they would leave the door on it. We can provide a key lock that it's only used by appropriate facility people that are getting access to it. So again, if the room was multi-purpose, then you'd have the door to lock it out with. Again, selling it to owners, again, from an engineer's point of view, again, you're preventing cross-contamination right at the dialysis machine itself, minimizes liability and protects patients who are at their most vulnerable. Again, there's no odor, no worry. Again, protecting the facility water supply. And again, with a mixing valve, we can keep the temperature at a constant between 75 and 78 degree Fahrenheit using the model with the mixing valve, the 8194. Again, it's all in one. Everything's all in one location. Again, your trap seal primer, your backflow, again, frees up ceiling space so you can run other things up in the ceiling space, or to keep it a little bit cleaner up in the ceiling space and not so crowded when it comes to putting things in. Again, reduced installation, the labor hours and material required. Again, arriving pre-plumbed and ready to go. Again, eliminating the need to have a designated room for your backflow preventers. Again, eliminates excess piping requirements and minimizes connections, opportunities for error in the plumbing system. Last thing you need to have all this piping and have a leak and trying to figure out where the leak is occurring. And that's the basics on dialysis boxes. Any questions?
That's great, Jared. Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to me is, how often this is going to come up over the next little bit. Piecemealing all those components together is always going to be more expensive and more convoluted than getting them all in one spot. So I could definitely see a situation over the next little bit where the typical 2 water hammer arresters inside of a box starts getting sent out to the market. Most people are going to be looking for a connection like this, where it's a in and out and everything's in the singular box. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. The other thing I should mention as well, very important point, it's CSA approved as well.
Great point. Yeah, very important.
So as those boxes are laid out, the typical 8193, the 8194, as is, they are CSA approved. That was done probably about a year ago.
Any questions on the dialysis box? Perfect. Well, I always like to finish up by showing where you can find these products. So if you don't mind stopping the screen share for a second, Chair, and you can keep an eye on any questions that come up along the way as well.
Yeah.
I will share the screen and show you how you can find the products that we were going over today. So I've already created a bit of a selection here on our spec tool. I'm in Jerry's account. So if you go to atsspec.com, log in, you'll get taken to your dashboard here where you can create a new spec. This would be just a simple singular fixture. So if you're just looking for a dialysis box, you could do that, hit finish, and get into product selection right away. But that's not going to give you any of the local code or rules that we have applied. So if you create a new project, then you can select, you can create your project file, select your country, and this is going to give you the correct Canadian codes. Select your province, and that'll give you the provincial codes. And if you have any municipal rules, those will be applied as well. Select your data tender, and this is going to help you ensure that your selection is up to date up until this time. So if a model gets discontinued, say you have the Master Troll Plus on your spec package, but they eventually discontinue that and only the standard Master Troll is available, then it will update your selection and make sure you're aware that your package needs a reselection. And our ATS team would reach out to help you select an appropriate product. And then put in your approximate square footage. You can select your application, and this is going to provide you recommendations based on the application and the most selected product for that application. So if you're looking at police station, we'll see different product than if you were looking at a residential condo. Pretty obviously, there's going to be different products used in those 2 different applications. We'll continue with this, and then you could add collaborators. So if you were working with someone within your firm, then your projects are already going to be shared. If you are working with someone outside of your firm, you could add them as a collaborator onto your project. And that would give them the ability to, go into that same edit screen, review your selection like we have here. We've got a couple of products already selected. They come in, edit the shower, change the name, add a selection, or just download and review the files as you wish. Once you're in, have created a folder to add a product to, whether it's a master, a spec, or a project, you just hit the plus button, and that's going to take you into your categories here. You can see we've already gone through and pinned a number, but if you have a standard set of fixtures that you are often using, if you are every project you're selecting the basin or a toilet, you can go through and either search for the category, or you can pin your favorite categories. So if we go back to the start here, let's pin, most of yours are already done, Jer. You've been pinning away, that's perfect. So I unpinned the dialysis box, but I can search for dialysis, repin it, and now on this basic screen, it's going to be showing up here in a higher order. Lets you get right into the selection very quickly. So if we wanted to look at the combination fixtures, I'll get into this category here. And then you can go through, I'm unable to select the barrier free because like I mentioned, I created this just as a spec. There's no provincial or state code. So therefore you can't have the barrier free option. You must create a project with that location information to select that. But within here, you could filter down. We recently added some new filter options, and you can filter by like ligature resistant or by manufacturer if there's more than one manufacturer. We can go through and select our offset barrier-free version here, or just our base 1418. And one other change that we recently launched, we separated the features and the options into two different tabs here. So the features will tell you some of the specifics about the product, the code that it's complying to, the ASME standard that's complying to, material sizes, flow rates, things like that. And then the options will allow you, especially for a complicated product like this, having that all on one screen was a bit too much. So now it's easier to understand which options you're selecting. So we have our flush valve selection here. We're going to select the master troll with piezo. You can select your tank, your toilet orientation will go centered. And the circular ones and the ones with the little required button are the ones that must be selected. So like our penile hemispherical bubbler. And then these squared options without the required, those are your true options. So you can include a towel hook, but that's up to you. You can include a paper holder, but that's up to you. So we'll put a paper holder on the right. We'll continue scrolling through. We don't want an overflow in this situation. We could select our wall sleeve, which is going to make it easier to install. You can include a ligature resistant skirt or your high polished or hinged seats. We'll put a flood troll in there and a pinned clean out, some of our standard selections. And then you can see how many options there are for these. We'll do on-floor wall outlet, select our flow rate, and then all these selections have been refining our selection. So you can see some of these are grayed out because they're no longer appropriate based on the selections we've already made. So I'm going to select our master troll electronic. We'll go hot and cold with piezo buttons for our faucet as well, because we want the piezo all the way through. And then we can hit add product. And now if there's any other steps that need to be added here, if you had to select your flush valve or if you had to select different components, those would be included as steps in the panel. However, this is an all-in-one unit and all the products are already there and completed. So we can just hit complete. And you can see I've added this to my selection. If you want to revise this down the line, say we want to change our flow rate, we can hit the edit button, that little pencil. And we'll see all of our selections are already saved. But then I can go down here and edit my flow rate. And now I have my 4.8 and I'll add that to the package instead. So I'm again hit complete. And you can see we've got the existing one that I had pre-selected, and we've got our shower with master troll. And then I'm going to edit this and call this combination unit. I'll call it 4.8 liters per flush with master troll. And I can even edit the orientation. So if I want this above my shower, I can change my sequence. That's going to save that. I'm going to bop this down to 3, save. And then that'll change not just the view on here, as it'll also affect the view in my output formats. So with that, I can now download this in my submittal, my product brochure, my fixture schedule in Excel, a long or short spec in Word, the manufacturer combined spec sheet, Revit, and a Word CSI 3-part spec. I've gone and pre-downloaded a couple of the formats because I do find it helpful just to walk through. With the manufacturer spec sheet format, you do get a table of contents with what you call the fixtures. You get a nice little fixture title page. I just selected a basic dialysis box, not the newly launched 8193. We have our combination unit and that shower with the master troll like we talked about. Versus the submittal format, all your options, all the details you need, and it's actually showing the options that you checked off instead of just a blank version. we want to download a quick Word spec, we did also launch a new format in this. It's called exclude page formatting. And this will just give you a cleaner version to copy from. Generally, what people need to do is you'll download this in Word, you'll select the information you wish to copy and bring that into your firm's Word format. Excluding the page formatting gives you a little bit of a cleaner version to copy from. There's, our general format does have some page formatting here, whereas everything here is just left justified. So you could go in, copy this as much or as little of this as you wish. You can just copy this portion, copy the whole thing, and send that out into the rest of your written package. And that's the general way to use the system. Now, if you've gone in and set up a master ahead of time, you can see we've got a handful of masters here for Jerry that he uses regularly. On the safety side, you could go over to the action button. You could copy this into that spec. We also have a recently launched templates, and the templates are the standard selections based on application. So if you wanted to add drainage to this, if you wanted to, prison, you can search for prison, or I don't know what term we call it, but we'll put office just for standard finding. You can find your office master template. You could do with a school as well. You look for the long-term care. And then once you're within the template, you can select the fixtures that you need and copy these specific fixtures into your package. So we could copy as much or as little of this. I'll select all. You go to the copy button and we can put this into our specification that we just created. And it might take a minute to copy all of that information over. You also use this new button, create a new spec or a new project from this. But it's certainly faster than reselecting, that little bit of waiting time that we had there to copy all of these fixtures into your general format. And now you can download or refine it or revise it to suit your particular project. Certainly the fastest way of getting a good, better, best to your owner group or to your architect for an early review of the system. So that's some of the updates to the spec system, some of the products that we discussed today. If you have any questions on the products that we talked about today, whether it's dialysis or the master control system, if you have an upcoming project where either of those would be applicable, maybe you're working on a new correctional facility or a police station, or like we heard about, long-term care, mental health, lots of different varieties of applications that master control products fit in. If you're looking to save some water and save the world, every drop counts. Feel free to reach out to us. If you would like help getting your team set up with our templates and masters, feel free to reach out to me. Or Mo or Melanie or Natalia, whoever your point of person is at the ATS ND team, we'll be happy to get you set up with either a training session on using the new template feature, or just getting your account set up and organized, or your masters and getting your own personal master. That's a lot what people are doing these days. They'll take the master, they'll tweak our template into a master, and then they'll tweak their master until it's just right for them. And then they can just copy that over, and it's going to be constantly updated, constantly accurate, and easy to use for all of their new employees. We don't have to go in and do a big annual review and model number update like we have in the past. With that, thank you very much for joining us today, Jerry. That was fantastic. I always love hearing from you. Hopefully,
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have another one soon. Well, and for anyone local, I know Jerry is hosting a large session. A number of people are wondering how are they going to get all their CPD hours for the PEAK program for the PEO Professional Engineers on Ontario. So Jerry and the Morris Lee team put together, I think it's June 15th coming up.
Yep.
It'll be a whole day of training. We're going to go over a lot of information, but I think you get 8 CPD hours in credits. So if you need to get a number of those done one day with some good folks in a good location, it's going to be hosted up in Scarborough at our ATS office. And you've got trucks coming in. It's going to be much better than just doing, 20 different sessions on the year. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you invited. And I think next year you're looking at doing something similar on the West Coast, right?
Correct.
Perfect. So yeah, look for an invite that may already be on your inbox. If not, and you want to join that, reach out to us. We'll be happy to get you set up. Otherwise, we'll have the peak program hours heading out for this in the end of the week. Thank you again, Jerry. Always wonderful. I'm sure we'll have you on again soon. And thanks for attending, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Hey, Zach, can you keep me on here for a sec after you're done?
Absolutely. Bye for now, all.
Thanks, everyone.